Now, I don't know about you, but I've always had a soft spot for pennies. Not just any pennies, though. No, we're talking about the ones that aren't just worth a cent. Today, we're diving into the world of a super rare coin that could actually be worth $1 million. Sounds crazy, right? But trust me, it's true. We're talking about the 1993 no-mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny. Now, this little piece of copper could have a value that'll make you look at your spare change a little differently. Stick around, because I've got some jaw-dropping info about this coin, and you'll definitely want to keep an eye out for it. Let's start by taking a trip back to 1993. Bill Clinton was in the White House, and if you were like me, you were probably rocking a radical t-shirt and watching some good old cartoons. But while all that was going on, something odd was happening in the world of coin production. The US Mint, those people responsible for making all the money, suddenly messed up and forgot to stamp a mint mark on some of their pennies. It sounds like something out of a heist movie, right? But it was a real mistake, and those pennies without a mint mark are the ones that collectors love. You might be thinking, what's the big deal with a mint mark? It's just a tiny letter, right? Well, that tiny letter is a huge deal. The mint mark tells you where the coin was made: Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. But in 1993, they accidentally skipped it on some pennies made in Philadelphia. These no-mint mark pennies are extremely rare, and because of that rarity, they're highly sought after by collectors. Now, let me tell you a little story. A few years ago, I was going through some of my old coins, trying to sort through the ones that might be worth something. I found a penny that looked pretty standard, and I nearly tossed it into the not worth much pile. But then I remembered something I'd heard in a coin collector's forum about the 1993 no-mint mark penny. I thought, wait a second, this penny doesn't have a mint mark. I pulled it out, did a quick check online, and boom! I'd found myself a little treasure. Turns out it wasn't just your average penny. It was a coin worth thousands. That got me thinking. What if I had tossed it? How many people just don't realize that they're sitting on something worth more than their lunch? These 1993 no-mint mark pennies have been known to fetch prices in the range of hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's right, this tiny penny could be worth a fortune. In some cases, the rare ones have been sold at auctions for well over $1 million. Can you imagine finding one of those in your change? That could be a game-changer. So, how do you know if you've got one of these gems in your collection? It's actually pretty simple. First, you want to look closely at the date. If it's 1993 and there's no mint mark under the date, congratulations. You've got something special. The key here is that you need to make sure it doesn't have any of the typical mint marks you'd expect to see: D for Denver, or S for San Francisco. If it's got nothing, you're looking at a rare find, but not every 1993 penny without a mint mark is automatically worth $1 million. The condition of the coin is super important, too. If it's in great shape, uncirculated, and shiny, you've got a much better shot at seeing that huge price tag. But if it's a bit worn out, it's still worth a pretty penny, just not $1 million. Let's talk about the value, because that's the fun part. The current market value for these 1993 no-mint mark pennies can vary, but there are some reports of these coins being sold for over $1 million at auctions. The price is based on rarity, demand, and condition. Some collectors are willing to pay a premium for a penny that's in mint condition, so if you've got one that looks like it was just minted yesterday, you could be sitting on a gold mine. You might not find one every day, so when you do, hold on to it. It might just be worth the kind of money you'd want to retire on. So, to sum it up, the 1993 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny is one of those rare coins that can make you a lot of money if you find the right one. Who knew that something so small could be worth so much, right? And, hey, even if you don't find $1 million penny, there are tons of other rare coins out there that can make you some serious cash. If you've learned anything from this video, it's that checking your change could change your life. Before you head out and start searching through your old penny jar, make sure you hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss out on more tips and tricks about coins worth big money. I've got plenty more stories and strategies coming your way, and you'll definitely want to stay in the loop for those future finds. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Keep hunting those rare coins, and I'll see you in the next video. You ever find yourself flipping through a pile of loose change, and suddenly, you see something that makes your heart skip a beat? Like, when you stumble upon a coin that's older than your uncle's stories about the good old days, and you think, is this thing worth anything? Well, I've been there. I remember once I found a penny in the couch cushions and thought, is this the next big thing? A hidden treasure, maybe? I showed it to my buddy, and he said, yeah, that's just a penny. But what if it wasn't just a penny? Today, I want to talk about a coin that's worth way more than your average pocket change. We're talking about the 1976 no-mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny. This little guy might look ordinary, but it's actually got a value that could make your jaw drop. And I'm not talking about just a couple of bucks here. No. We're talking millions, but before you run off to dig through your spare change jar, let's break down why this penny is sitting at the top of the coin world right now, and how it could totally change the game for you. First off, let's talk about why this 1976 penny is so special. It was struck during a pretty cool time in American history, 1976, the year we celebrated the 200th anniversary of the United States. The nation was throwing one heck of a birthday party, and even the coins got in on the action with some unique commemorative designs. However, here's where things get interesting. Most of these pennies came out of the US Mint with a mint mark. You know, that little D or S you often see near the date on your pennies? That tells you where the coin was made, either in Denver or San Francisco. But some of these 1976 pennies, the ones without a mint mark, were mistakenly produced without one. And that tiny mistake turned into a massive opportunity for collectors. Now, why does that one little detail make all the difference? Because of scarcity. See, fewer of these, no mint mark, pennies were made, and over time, that rarity has pushed the value of these coins up, way up. A typical 1976 penny might only be worth 1 cent, but a 1976 no mint mark penny? That could be worth hundreds of thousands, or even millions of dollars, depending on its condition. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. How much could a penny possibly be worth, really? And trust me, I get it. I used to think the same thing. But here's the kicker, a 1976 no mint mark penny, in pristine condition, also known as being in uncirculated or mint state condition, has been known to fetch as much as $1 million or more at auction. Yes, you heard that right. $1 million. For a penny, and it's not just a one-off, either. There are collectors who actively seek out these rare, unmarked pennies and pay top dollar for them. If you manage to find one in your change jar, you could be sitting on a small fortune. Sounds pretty wild, right? But it's true. Just like anything else in the coin world, condition is key. A penny that's been through the ringer, tossed around in your pocket for decades, isn't going to make you a millionaire. You're looking for one that's in top-notch shape, shiny, clean, and with no signs of wear or damage. If you've got one of these beauties in mint condition, you could be holding onto a serious goldmine. Now, if you're out there digging through your old change or scouring eBay for these rare pennies, there are a few things you'll want to keep in mind. Not all 1976 pennies are valuable. It's the ones with no mint mark, in near-perfect condition, that will fetch the big bucks. Check out online coin valuation guides or get in touch with a professional coin appraiser to verify the coin's worth. With rare coins like this, you'll want to get them authenticated. There's always a risk of someone trying to pass off a fake penny as the real deal. So, make sure you're working with a trusted expert. Let me tell you about the time I thought I had struck gold with a penny. I was out at a yard sale, just one of those lazy Saturday afternoons where you're digging through boxes of old junk. I found a jar of coins, and in the mix, I spotted a 1976 penny. Of course, I was too excited. I was thinking, this is it. I'm about to be a millionaire. So, I rushed home, Googled 1976 no mint mark penny, and got all hyped up, thinking I was going to find my retirement plan. I'll tell you, I was on cloud 9, until I looked closer. Turns out, it wasn't the no mint mark version. The thing had been handled more than a doorknob in a busy office. It had scratches, nicks, and that dull look you get when a coin has been in circulation too long. I didn't get rich that day. But hey, it taught me a valuable lesson. Research, patience, and a sharp eye can make all the difference. So, don't get too ahead of yourself, make sure you've got the right coin, and you'll be golden. The 1976 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny is a classic example of how a small mistake can lead to big rewards. These rare pennies can be worth a fortune, and all it takes is a little bit of luck, and a lot of knowledge, to find one. But remember, not every 1976 penny is $1 million coin. It's the ones without the mint mark and in mint condition that you need to look out for. And if you happen to have one lying around in your change jar or tucked away in a drawer, who knows, you might just have a goldmine on your hands. If you want more tips on how to spot valuable coins and strategies for building your own collection, be sure to subscribe to the channel. I'll be diving into more coins worth big bucks, and trust me, you won't want to miss out on what could be your ticket to coin collecting success. Thanks for watching, and happy hunting. Keep your eyes peeled for those rare finds. You never know when the next big payday might be sitting in your pocket. Alright, fellas, gather around, because I've got a story about a coin that could change your life. You know those pennies you've got laying around in a drawer, or stuffed in the back of your couch? Well, one of those could be worth millions. I'm talking about the 1963 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny. Yeah, that's right. A penny. But not just any penny, this one's got the potential to make you a serious chunk of change. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll be rifling through every pocket, jar, and old coin book you can find. Now, before you get too excited and start searching your couch cushions, hey, that's not a bad idea though, let's break this down. The 1963 no-mint mark penny isn't just some forgotten coin from the past. It's one of those hidden gems that most people overlook, but trust me, if you find one, it's like hitting the jackpot. To understand why this penny is worth so much, we need to dig a little into the history. The 1963 penny, like most pennies from the era, was minted in Philadelphia. But here's the kicker, it doesn't have a mint mark on it, which is pretty uncommon for that time. Mint marks were usually stamped on coins to tell us where they were made, whether it was Philly, Denver, or San Francisco. But in 1963, Philly was cranking out so many pennies, they didn't bother with mint marks on most of them. This tiny detail makes the coin a bit more elusive and, for collectors, that means it's more desirable. There aren't a whole lot of them out there, which is why this penny has climbed to a jaw-dropping value. We're talking millions of dollars. Yup, you heard that right. This little copper nugget could be worth anywhere from $1 million to $2 million, depending on its condition, of course. Yeah right, how does a penny get to be worth millions? Well, it all comes down to rarity, demand, and condition. This penny's value comes from the fact that not many were made without that mint mark, and fewer still have survived in decent condition. You might have a 1963 penny, but that doesn't automatically mean it's going to be worth a fortune. Condition matters, a lot. Coins that have been buried in the ground for decades or used as dirty, grimy pocket change won't fetch much. But if you've got a penny that's in mint condition, as in, it's got that fresh look with little to no wear on it, you could be sitting on a gold mine. Collectors want coins that look as close to perfect as possible, so even the smallest scratch or discoloration can bring down the value. How to tell if your 1963 penny is worth a fortune? So, how do you know if you've got one of these rare beauties sitting in your change jar? It's all about authentication and grading. First off, you'll need to make sure the coin is legitimate. There are plenty of fakes out there. Some people will go as far as trying to trick you with a polished-up, mint-looking penny that's not worth anything. Don't fall for it. Find a good coin expert or appraiser who can verify its authenticity. Once you've got that sorted, the next step is to grade the coin. Coin grading is a whole thing in the world of numismatics, and believe me, it's not as simple as looking at a coin and saying, yeah, that looks nice. There are professional grading systems that evaluate the coin based on its appearance, including the sharpness of the image, the color, and how much where it shows. The higher the grade, the higher the value. Where can I sell a penny for millions? Well, you're in luck. Coin auctions are where the magic happens. There are major auction houses that deal exclusively with rare coins, and buyers at these auctions are ready to throw down some serious cash. The market for rare coins is still pretty hot, and coins like the 1963 no-mint mark penny have been known to fetch a pretty penny, pun intended. A little while ago, a similar penny, one that was graded in near-perfect condition, sold for over $1.5 million. That's some serious money for a coin that many people wouldn't even pick up off the ground if they saw it. So, what does that mean for you? If you've got a 1963 penny that's in good shape, don't just toss it in your pocket or let it sit in a jar somewhere. Get it graded, get it authenticated, and take it to an auction house or a coin dealer who knows their stuff. Now, let me share a little personal story. A few years back, I was at a garage sale, yeah, the classic spot for hidden treasures, when I came across a box of old coins. There was a 1960s era penny sitting in there, looking a little beat up, but still pretty shiny. I bought the whole box for $10, hey, it was a deal, and honestly, I didn't think much of it. But later that night, I started doing a little research, and guess what? That penny turned out to be a 1963 no-mint mark penny, and it was in surprisingly good condition. Long story short, I ended up selling it for a small fortune at an auction. Now, I wasn't exactly rolling in cash, but let's just say it paid off some bills and bought me a really nice dinner. What I learned from that experience is, you never know what you've got until you look. So, if you're sitting on a collection of coins that's been gathering dust in your attic, it's time to go through them. There might be a penny in there that could set you up for a future you never imagined. Alright, guys, now you know all about the 1963 no-mint mark penny and why it could be the key to millions. Remember, it's all about rarity, condition, and finding the right buyer. So, start digging through your old coin collection, check that change jar, and give your grandma's coin collection a second look. Who knows? That old penny might just be worth more than you think. If you've learned something new today, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more tips and tricks on coins worth money, coin collecting strategies, and stories from the world of numismatics. Trust me, you won't want to miss what we've got in store next. Hit that like button if you're excited about coin collecting, and leave a comment below if you've ever found a coin worth big money. I'd love to hear your stories. Alright, fellas, you ever pull a penny out of your pocket, look at it, and think, this thing's probably worth about a cent? Well, buckle up, because that little penny could actually be worth millions. Yeah, millions. And no, I'm not messing with you. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most mind-blowing coins I've ever come across, the 1968 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny. Sounds like a joke, right? But trust me, by the end of this video, you'll be staring at your loose change in a whole new light. So, stick with me for the next 50 minutes, don't worry, I'll keep it light and entertaining, and I'll show you exactly how that tiny penny could be hiding a potential fortune. Plus, I'll share a personal story of how I once found a coin that made me do a double take, and no, it wasn't a $1 million penny, but it was pretty dang close. Let's get into it. Now, I know what you're thinking, it's just a penny, man. Why are you so hyped about a piece of copper? Well, here's the thing, that 1968 penny is not just any penny. In fact, it's the kind of penny that can make your heart skip a beat when you find out its value. If you're holding a 1968 penny with no mint mark, there's a good chance you've got something worth a pretty penny. You see, the US Mint typically stamps coins with a mint mark to show where they were made, whether it's Philly, Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. But for the 1968 penny, most of the coins were minted in Philadelphia and were stamped with no mint mark. Not all 1968 pennies are created equal. The 1968 no mint mark penny was produced in massive numbers, but that doesn't mean all of them are worth millions. You see, there's a rare version of this coin that's in pristine condition, and collectors have paid big bucks for these babies. Alright, let's talk numbers. We're talking about a coin that can fetch around $1 million at auction under the right circumstances. But, don't start thinking that every 1968 penny is sitting in your change jar waiting to be a millionaire maker. The condition of the coin is key. A penny in pristine, uncirculated condition could be worth up to $1 million. That's because, due to a mistake or some kind of error, some of these pennies were struck with a slight design flaw, and collectors go wild for these mistakes. Condition is king. If you've got a 1968 penny that looks like it just came off the mint press, you're in luck. These high-grade coins are the ones that fetch top dollar. The better the condition, the higher the price tag. We're talking about a gem-quality coin that looks like it could have been minted yesterday, not 50+ years ago. Now, error coins are a whole different ballgame. These can be pennies with double strikes, off-center designs, or, as I mentioned before, the one with the minting error that can push its value into the stratosphere. If you've got a 1968 penny with an error, make sure to get it checked out by a professional, because that little mistake could mean a huge payout. Even though the 1968 penny was produced in huge numbers, the ones that survived in top-notch condition and with minting errors are incredibly rare today. That's what makes them valuable. The fewer there are, the more people want them, and the more they're willing to pay. So, what does this mean for you? Keep those pennies. Take a look at the ones sitting in your pocket change. You might not have $1 million coin in your collection just yet, but you never know when a 1968 no-mint mark penny could show up in your daily finds. Let me take you back to a few years ago. I was at a local flea market, rummaging through a box of coins that a guy was trying to unload. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was half distracted, thinking about lunch, but something caught my eye. There it was, a worn-down penny, 1968, no-mint mark. I didn't think much of it at first, but the seller was practically giving it away for a few cents. So, I thought, why not, and added it to my pile that I didn't think much of it for a while. Then, one day, I remembered that I had tossed that penny into a jar of loose change. I pulled it out, looked at it again, and did a double take. Something about the way it caught the light made me pause. I had seen a video a while ago about rare 1968 pennies, so I decided to do a quick check. After doing some research, I found that I had a pristine 1968 penny with no mint mark. Now, I wasn't sitting on $1 million coin, but it was definitely worth a solid amount more than I paid. It was one of those moments where I thought, wow, maybe I should be paying more attention to my change. Always check your pennies. You might just be carrying around a small fortune. Alright, fellas, here's the bottom line. That 1968 no-mint mark penny might look like just another coin sitting in your pocket, but if you look closely, it could be worth a small fortune. If you happen to find one in perfect condition or with a minting error, you could be holding onto something that's worth millions. So, before you toss that penny into the wishing well, or the piggy bank, give it a second look. There's no reason you can't get lucky. I've found coins at garage sales, flea markets, and even in random old drawers. So, get out there, start looking through your coins, and maybe, just maybe, you'll find a hidden gem that could make you a lot richer than you expected. If you want more tips like this, whether it's about rare pennies, quarters, or other coins worth big bucks, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on the next coin worth a fortune that I uncover. Hold on to your hats because I'm about to blow your mind. Imagine stumbling upon a coin worth millions. Yes, millions. That's not a typo. You might be sitting on a small fortune without even realizing it, and today, we're talking about one particular coin that could have your wallet bulging with cash, the 2005 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln penny. Sounds like a crazy fantasy, right? Well, buckle up, because I'm about to take you on a wild ride into the world of valuable pennies. This isn't just some lucky find story. It's real, and it's happened before. So, let's dive into the crazy world of this penny that's way more valuable than you probably think. If you're serious about finding hidden treasures in your pocket change, stick around. Trust me, by the end of this video, you'll be checking your spare change like a detective on a hot case. Let's get into it. Well, let me take you back in time. Picture this, it's 2005, and the US Mint is doing its usual thing, pumping out millions of pennies. In fact, that year was all about honoring the 16th President of the United States, Abraham Lincoln, with a special series of pennies that would feature his likeness from his younger years on one side. Pretty cool, right? Most of the 2005 pennies have the D Mint mark if they were produced in Denver or the P Mint mark if they were made in Philadelphia. But, and here's where it gets interesting, a few oddball pennies slipped through the cracks that have absolutely no mint mark at all. No P, no D, nothing. These little guys are so rare that they can be worth big money, and I mean millions of dollars in some cases. Now, you might be thinking, wait a second, a penny? Worth millions? Come on, buddy, are you pulling my leg? But let me assure you, this is not a joke. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's true. In 2005, when the no mint mark pennies started popping up, collectors went nuts over them. They were like the holy grail of coins, the stuff of legends, but before you start running to the nearest coin shop and tossing around all your pennies like a treasure hunter looking for lost gold, let's talk about how to spot the rare ones and what they're really worth today. First, we need to talk about the key factor that makes the 2005 no mint mark penny so valuable: rarity. There are only a few hundred of them in circulation. That's it. Just a handful. And when you've got something that rare, people will pay big bucks for it. Well, depending on the condition and the exact type of penny you have, you could be looking at anywhere from $1,000 to over $1 million for one of these bad boys. Crazy, right? I know. It blows my mind too. And there are even rumors that some of these rare coins have sold for as much as $2.5 million at auctions. Yep, you read that right. Not bad for a coin that originally cost, what, 1 cent? Let's talk about my personal experience with coin collecting. So, I've been collecting coins for years. I've had my fair share of finds, but none of them were close to $1 million coin. I remember this one time I was going through a pile of pennies, just some random change I had lying around. I didn't expect to find anything special. Honestly, I was just hoping to find a couple of old wheat pennies, you know, the ones from the 1940s or 50s. But then I came across one that didn't have a mint mark. At first, I thought, it's probably nothing. But then I remembered the 2005 no mint mark penny, and I started to wonder, could this be one of them? I took a closer look. No mint mark, check. It wasn't in perfect condition, but it wasn't bad either. I started researching, and guess what? It wasn't worth $1 million, but it was definitely worth a solid few $100. Still, not bad for a coin that had been hanging out in my pocket for who knows how long. That moment made me realize the hidden treasures that could be hiding in our spare change. And now, I want to pass that knowledge on to you. Here's the deal, it's all about being on the lookout. Keep an eye on your pennies, especially the ones from 2005. The best part is, you don't need to be a professional numismatist to spot one. Just check the year and look for the mint mark or lack of it. If you've got a 2005 penny with no mint mark, don't just toss it into the jar with the rest of your spare change. You might be holding onto a gold mine. Don't just stop with the 2005 penny. There are tons of valuable coins out there, and they're not all as obvious as you might think. If you start paying attention, you could end up discovering a hidden treasure trove in your pockets, your coin jar, or even at your local thrift store. If you're serious about finding coins worth money, you've got to stay informed and always be on the lookout. Don't be like me, all casual with your change. Be like that guy who actually finds the $1 million penny. Subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you won't miss out on more coin collecting tips, tricks, and treasure hunts. Trust me, there's a lot more valuable coins to uncover, and I'm going to show you how to find them. Thanks for hanging out with me today. And remember, if you've got any 2005 pennies with no mint mark lying around, well, good luck, and maybe start making room for your newfound fortune. Have you ever been sifting through your pocket change, just casually flipping through a handful of pennies, and wondered, could this little guy be worth a fortune? Well, I've got news for you. There's one particular penny from 2020 that could be sitting in your collection right now, just waiting to make you a ton of cash. Yep, you guessed it, I'm talking about the 2020 D Mint Mark Abraham Lincoln penny. Now, I know what you're probably thinking, a penny? Worth $1 million. It sounds crazy, right? But trust me, this isn't some wild conspiracy theory or collector's fever dream. This coin really could be worth millions. Stick around because I'm about to break down exactly why this little copper circle has such a crazy value, what to look for, and how you might just stumble across one yourself. Alright, let's start with the basics. The 2020 D. Abraham Lincoln penny is part of the series of pennies that celebrate good old Honest Abe. But unlike the standard pennies you see every day, this particular one stands out in a big way. Why? Because of the minting errors that can make it rare and valuable. And we all know that when it comes to coin collecting, error coins are like finding a golden ticket to the Willy Wonka factory, except instead of chocolate, it's stacks of cash. First, let's talk about the 2020 D Mint mark. You've got your standard pennies with the D Mint mark that come from Denver, Colorado. These aren't super rare on their own, but the ones with errors? That's where the magic happens. One of the most notable errors that collectors are looking for is the double die error. If you've never heard of that before, basically, it's a mistake made during the minting process where the design on the die gets stamped twice, causing the image to be slightly misaligned. That means Abraham Lincoln's face and the details on the coin will appear doubled. The result is a penny that's not only unique but also highly desirable. For starters, the value of a 2020 D penny with a double die error can hit upwards of $1 million, and that's not just an estimate, it's the real deal. People are literally paying hundreds of thousands of dollars for a single coin. And if you happen to find one in your change jar, you could be looking at an instant jackpot. Finding one isn't easy. The 2020 D pennies with the double die error are incredibly rare, which is why they command such high prices. Only a few have been discovered, and they're snapped up quickly by eager collectors. So, if you're holding onto a 2020 D penny that looks a little off, especially with double details, you might want to give it a closer inspection. Don't just assume it's another run-of-the-mill penny. Now, before you go running off to dig through your old piggy bank, let me share a little personal story. A few years ago, I was in the exact same position. I was rummaging through a box of old coins I'd collected over the years. There were a few pennies in there from 2020, nothing special, I thought. But then, bam! One of them caught my eye. I wasn't sure what was off, but something about it seemed different. After a closer look, I realized it was a double die error penny. Talk about a holy grail moment that I rushed to an expert, and let me tell you, he was just as shocked as I was when he saw it. He actually thought I had misidentified it at first, but the error was obvious. I was holding a potential treasure worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Now, I didn't sell it right away, honestly, I couldn't part with it. But that feeling of finding something truly valuable in my own collection is something I'll never forget. And that's the kind of excitement you could experience if you're lucky enough to find one of these 2020 D Lincoln pennies. What else makes this coin so special is its historical significance. The 2020 penny was released in the middle of a pandemic, which is a huge part of modern history. So, not only is it a rare minting error, but it also has historical context attached to it. That's a huge selling point for collectors who love to focus on coins that tell a story. This penny could be seen as a symbol of resilience, surviving through the madness of 2020 and being part of a year that we'll all look back on and remember forever. And remember, coins like these aren't just rare because of minting errors. Sometimes, their value is determined by the condition they're in. So, even if you don't find a double die error, if your 2020 D penny is in mint condition, that could still boost its value considerably. The fewer scratches, dents, or discoloration, the higher the potential price. So, always check the quality of the coin. your penny might be one of the lucky few that escaped the year without too much damage. Now, let's talk about how you can spot these valuable pennies. First things first, look at the date and mint mark. If you've got a 2020 D penny, you're halfway there. Then, inspect the details carefully. Look for any signs of doubling, particularly around the date, Lincoln's profile, and the words, Liberty and, In God We Trust. If you see any of these features showing up twice, it could be the real deal. Also, don't forget about the grade of the coin. The higher the grade, the more it's worth. So, if you're looking to sell it, you might want to get it graded by a professional service like the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC, or Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS. A graded coin can fetch a lot more than an ungraded one, so it's worth getting it assessed. So, there you have it. The 2020 D. Abraham Lincoln penny, your potential golden ticket to a pile of cash. It's rare, it's valuable, and it could be sitting in your change jar, right under your nose. Just remember, not every 2020 D penny is going to make you a millionaire. But if you happen to find one with that sweet double die error, or even in pristine condition, you could be holding on to something that's worth a lot more than a few cents. I hope you learned something new today, and now, next time you go through your pennies, you'll know exactly what to look for. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the world of valuable coins, be sure to smash that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss any of my future tips and tricks on coins worth big money. I've got a lot more exciting content coming your way, so don't go anywhere.